A lot of people think that foreplay starts in the bedroom when you start physically touching. But foreplay starts at 6:30 a.m. when you woke up. Communication is lubrication. The person is feeling connected to you. Why do we have sex? People think that sex is just for physical release. There's a big emotional connection about it. And that's why when there's emotional clutter, you cannot have physical climax.
Sexual dissatisfaction is one of the top 3 unspoken reasons for marital conflict.
Where is it top 3? It's actually top 2. The average time between when penetration occurs and when ejaculation occurs is between minutes.
Does okra water aid lubrication down there?
Sex is not a performance. It is a connection. If we start to understand sex from a lens of curiosity, are you discovering your partner's body? Or you are just paying attention to the genitals? The masters schedule sex. Newlyweds are newbies. So for the newbies, they think it's spontaneous. If this podcast runs too long, you're going to stand wrapping it up. Right? If you had a meeting after this, you're going to be like, oh, right. Somebody calls you. You say, please, I have an emergency.
Hey! So sex is an emergency.
Is it not a family emergency?
Makai, how can a man combat premature ejaculation? Hi, Yeside.
Hello.
About 40 to 50% of married people globally are sexually unsatisfied. And sexual dissatisfaction is one of the top 3 unspoken reasons for marital conflict. How damning is that?
Where is it top 3? It's actually top 2. In fact, sometimes you might even say it might be the number 1 reason, depending on who you're speaking to. Because most of the time, it's usually sexual dissatisfaction or finances. And sexual dissatisfaction ranks highly because when people think of sex, they think of just the physical act. But people are sexually dissatisfied because they are emotionally dissatisfied. You are not connecting. And so that lack of connection is what trickles down. That lack of emotional connection, of mental connection is what trickles down to the physical. But we latch onto the physical and think that that's what the problem is. Just an indication. It's a physical indication of the issue. So we need to go back to figure out why is it that we are not connecting. We're in an age where we are the most connected generation that has ever lived, right? We don't have to think, you just have to think about a person and they're at the tip of your fingers. You're sending them a message on the internet, you're calling them, you're video calling them even. So we should be most connected, especially with our loved ones. But we're finding out that we're not because there's so much more that's taking our attention.
Why is that?
How do I put this? So if you look at a typical married couple, you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Most people of this age, like a typical, say, 30-something-year-old couple. Most people get up and the first thing they do is reach for their phones.
True.
Even if you're a person of faith, for some people, before they even say, thank you, Lord, good morning, God. Yeah, they're picking up their phone. Sometimes the idea is even they'll say, oh, I just want to read my Bible or, read the Quran or something. But you're picking up your phone, and when you're picking up your phone, you're seeing the missed messages, the messages on WhatsApp, the messages from social media, the notifications from this. You might be subscribed to some news alerts. So now you're getting news alerts and then you're starting. Your partner wakes up. Oh, morning, babe. Good morning. You give a kiss and you're both, sometimes you're taking that phone to the bathroom. And your day has started. That has taken up your day. And just it rolls like that. You get to work, whether you're working outside of your home or you're working from home, you're engaged throughout the day. You think of your spouse, you think of your partner, but you may or may not. You might just send him a text or something, but you're not really connecting. You get back home, you see a lot of even married couples that love each other and both of them are on separate couches or 2 sides of the couches. You're sitting in the same physical space, but they're not emotionally present together because somebody is watching some reels on here, somebody is reading a news thing, and meaning that they're both disconnected. But remember in the past, when you would get home, what do? You don't have all those things. Maybe we're watching television or watching the news. That act of generally both of us sitting down, watching the news, we're commenting on it, right? We're starting to have conversations, it's opening. So sometimes there's a lot that's taking away our attention.
And so the very thing that is supposed to be a blessing with respect to connectivity has actually become a curse in some regard, in some contexts of relationship. For example, many couples think they communicate. They think because they're in the same space, but it's in the phone pressing, it's in the this. And the very thing that's supposed to connect you with people who are not proximate to you now pulls you away from the people who are right beside you. And I think is so profound. Thank you for diving in on that.
May I say,
Before we get back to that already captivating conversation, this is a gentle reminder to you that you can do a whole lot more for the episode by being a part of it much more actively. If you're yet to subscribe to this amazing podcast channel, kindly do so by clicking on the subscribe button, and also do not forget to turn on post notification so you'll be the very first person to know when next we drop another interesting conversation like this. And don't also forget to like, right? When you do that, the algorithm automatically shows it to more people. Let's get back to the gist.
even when communicating, a lot of the communication is admin. Have you bought lights? Could you pick up eggs on your way home? The kids this. So even for couples that don't have kids, there's a lot of admin. And I mean, if you live together, your roommates, there's administrative stuff, take care of the home, all those little things. Oh, have you paid for this? Have you done this? Oh, okay, your mom this, my mom, all those things. And we consider that communication. And we consider that, but we've spoken today now, have we? We have legislated, we've done admin work. We have not connected. So, like you said about how you and your wife now do not watch TV, and your wife says, talk to me. It's not the length of time, it's the quality of time you spend. And just really getting that into, intimacy is, if you consider it, into you, I see. So you are being able to see into the person. I sometimes recommend to couples that come to me for counseling or come to me for sessions. And when we're trying to, you're thinking, okay, we've not been connecting, intimacy is down. And I'm like, let's have what you call like a 10-minute check-in. Uninterrupted time. For 5 minutes, I just pour out my day to you. And for 5 minutes, you get to do the same. And we just get to love upon each other. This is not admin stuff. Just, this happened and this is how I felt. Where are you mentally? Where are you physically? What was your high of the day? What was your low of the day? And that's just kind of gives you, because even if imagine that both of you are working from home, so you're in the same space, but you've not both had the same day. So this person has not had a complete snapshot of where you are at. And it's very easy to make assumptions. But when you're doing that, then this person that you love so much can then feel supported. So a lot of people think that foreplay starts in the bedroom. Foreplay starts when you start physically touching. But foreplay starts at 6:30 a.m. when you woke up. So you're building up on that.
As a way you could be prepping your partner for a great time in the night from the morning.
But you are prepping your partner, you're prepping yourself. A big part of foreplay is communication. In fact, think of communication as lubrication. Communication is lubrication. So that is already getting the wheels. The person is feeling connected to you. Why do we have sex? People think that sex is just for physical release. There's a big emotional connection about it. And that's why when there's emotional clutter, you cannot have physical climax as well. It takes away from it. For some people, they can, but in long-term relationships, over time, you will see that it takes away. So that emotional clutter, you have to emotionally declutter.
I'm already taking notes. And talking about the fact that many married people don't talk as much as they think they do, I like the fact that you've put a terminology to it. Admin talk. It just dawned on me. I mean, being an entrepreneur, I sure know what it means to have administrative duties, right? And to be frank, you're right. Many people actually have admin talk and think it's quality time. And so it's not about the quantity of the time, it's about the quality of the time reflected on the quality of the conversations. I think that's very profound. And speaking about the fact that many couples don't talk, right? There was a statistic that showed that over 65% of couples report that they rarely or never talk openly about sex, even after years of marriage. And being African, which we both are, there seems to be, do I call it a de facto, or I call it unspoken rule that only bad boys and bad girls talk about sex. Now, oh my. I was in a conversation just a couple of days ago with someone. The person is pretty close to me. And I'm talking family. And so one thing led to another. And then the person was talking about her experience when she saw her period for the very first time. And she talks about how it happened at the age of 10. And one day she was just in school. I think she was GS1 or primary 6. Apparently, she didn't know she was menstruating. And then one of her teachers saw her. Immediately, the teacher now decided to send her to the sick bay. And she went to block her there and then covered it up and all. And she said, her mom didn't really tell her anything about it, per se. And then they called her mom and told her mom about it. And the mom just told her, oh, now you can get pregnant too, so be careful.
Yes.
To the average African parent, sex education is something that devils do and have. It sounds funny, but it's our reality.
It is fun.
And whether we like it or not, what that has done is that it has, in the end, further transmogrified into a bigger beast.
We're going, before we delve into why we're not talking about sex, yeah? Let's go back to your cousin who said her period started at 10 and her mom had never had a conversation with her about periods. That's actually where the problem is. People think that sex education is sitting someone down and telling them the rudimentary physical mechanics of sex, that a penis goes into a vagina this way, this is what you do. Not realizing that sex education starts from when your child can't speak. From the age of 1, 2, where you're giving them a bath, you're speaking and you're saying, okay, I'm washing. You don't say, you use anatomical words, anatomically correct words. Oh, we're washing your shoulders, we're washing your arms, we're washing your legs, we're washing your penis. We are rinsing your face. Okay, now you make sure we're rinsing your nose, we're rinsing your lips, we're rinsing your breast, we're rinsing your vulva. Not your pee-pee, not your disdain, not your kinikon, and all the different names that we have, all the euphemisms that we have for them. It starts from being comfortable enough to name these things. That's sex education. Teaching them about what is safe touch, what is an appropriate touch, what is an inappropriate touch.
Bad touch, good touch.
Yeah, but even the word bad and good, appropriate, inappropriate, because depending on the situation, for example, if mommy is giving you a bath, mommy is going to touch your genitals, but can auntie so-and-so touch it? No. Depending on where you are, if you're in private, you can take off your clothes, right? Is it appropriate for you to take off your clothes in public? At which point is it contextualizing it? Also helping them understand, okay, these are my genitals. These are my private areas. I don't show them to anybody. Nobody shows them to me. Nobody shows me theirs. I don't ask to show them because people think that it's from touching. No, a lot of children are groomed. So all those little things, right? Then you start talking about even relationships. When they have friends and their friends are, maybe they have a certain friend that is not particularly nice to them. Or the word, not even nice, I don't like to use the word nice, that's not kind to them. But they really like this friend and they really want to be friends with them. But you as a parent, you're seeing this and then you now start asking them questions about relation. Now you're building relationship. You're building their skills in relationships. And it's not just friend relationships. They also go into romantic relationships, right? It's part of sex education. Is this a relationship with this friend? Does it make you feel good? Do you feel good about yourself? And then the child starts to think, oh, maybe not. Okay, so if I don't feel good, if this person does not treat me well the way I want to be treated, should I continue to be in their space? This will go into when you find somebody that you're romantically interested in, that is the person treating you well. Should you stay in there? So parents don't realize that all of these is sex education. Because again, the word sex connotes the physical act. But there's so much more. We've talked about the emotional aspects of it. So if parents understood, and which is why even later we're in February.
Yes.
So by May, Olori Coitus is actually going to have a workshop for parents.
Okay,
a
nice.
physical workshop for parents of kids going into puberty. Because what I realized and what we've seen is that parents are actually just scared.
Yes, they are.
Parents are scared. And when you don't, and the reason they're scared is because they don't have knowledge. When you have knowledge, then you realize that there's nothing to be.
I feel like not only are they scared, a good percentage of them are not comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. And so they're typically avoidant. And sometimes that could be part of fear also. But for someone scared, it speaks to communication gaps. There's a lacuna that hasn't been addressed. You need to learn to build up your children in a way where they feel emotionally secure to have difficult conversations, right? Mommy, something is growing on my chest, right? Mommy, I'm getting bigger in some areas. Oh, daddy, I saw this. What we fail to teach our children within the four walls of the smallest unit of society being the family, they will learn outside where there's no supervision. And they will also learn the perverted version
Thank you so much.
of that truth.
Thank you so much. When you, as a parent, gives this information to your child, and again, parents think that it's a one-time conversation. When you hear, so that you hear the talk. It is not the talk. It's a series of talks. When you are the one presenting this information to your child for the first time, you know what else you're doing? You're also putting out what your values are. You're teaching that child that, yes, this happens, but then you're also adding, but in this house, as your parent, within this our family, these are our values. And so the child now knows that, okay, yes, sperm will fertilize an egg, but it is better for me if I wait to have this. Why? Is it just because the Bible says so, or the Quran says so? There's that as well. But then you also give, that's at the point where you're like, look, are you mentally ready, financially ready, emotionally ready to father a child, to mother a child? Oh, these are the things. When you have a child, your whole life revolves around this child. And it's not just about children, right? You talk about sexually transmitted disease, but then even before you even go all that, the emotional connections, right? The depth of these connections are things that you should wait until you're an adult, till you are mature enough, mentally, emotionally mature enough to be able to handle this. Because how will you be able, you can even tell that, how do you feel when your friend doesn't talk to you at school today and starts talking to other people? You feel devastated. So now just imagine how much more. So, and then you put it within the context. Everything is not about fear. But I think that sometimes, with parents, but I do want to give kudos to our generation of new generation of parents.
Yeah.
Is this idea of, if you talk about something, then they would want it. Now you've opened the door and now they're exposed to it. Once I expose you to something, you now desire it. But you don't realize, and I think you had mentioned it before, that you demystify it. Because when you realize that I learned about sex and, puberty and all this very early on. And funny enough, it wasn't my parents that taught me. I learned it in a book. There was a book called Every Woman. And my mom was a big reader, so she had a lot of books. And there were books that we could read, the kids, but then there were those books that were
So you snuck to the library and stole one?
I saw it. I don't even know how. I picked it up, and I think she had just finished reading it, so it was just there. And I picked it up and I started reading it. But I have to say that book really opened my mind. Because at the point where I had friends or people were saying things like giving perverse knowledge or saying things like, oh, if you wear a tampon, you'll get disvirgined. And all, I could say, oh, no, there's no, you won't be, because the concept of virginity, this is what a hymen does. This is what, when you start your period, this is what, there's so much.
This is so true. The fact that knowledge helps you combat misconceptions and it proactively prepares you for what isn't true,
Yes.
but feels like true.
Yes, and when you as a young girl are in a relationship with someone, or you're friends with someone, there's someone that likes you, and somebody says, if you love me, you would do this. If you, and because that's what they think. They're not, I think it's very easy for us to think that everyone is out to manipulate you and stuff, but this person actually believes this and thinks that this is a way for us to show love to each other. And then I can tell you that, no, are you ready for this? There's more to this is a very simple thing, but what are the mechanics of this? What are all the things that this comes with that we're not sitting down and thinking about? And studies have shown, research has shown that children who are given comprehensive sex education, so not just abstinence only. It's not enough for someone to say, don't have sex, or otherwise you get pregnant. Don't have sex if you're not ready to father a child. Abstinence only. People think, especially, religious people think that is the model. That model does not work. It has been shown over and over again. It doesn't work. Comprehensive sex education, lay it all on the table. Give your values, let them understand, but also let them see everything. When somebody makes an informed decision, they are more likely to stick with it than when you make a decision based out of fear. So now, children, like I said, the research shows that children, young adults who have gotten comprehensive sex education are more likely to delay the onset of sexual activity. Way more than people who were given either no information or abstinence only. So
That's very profound, and thank you for supporting that with the facts and with statistics having shown that. And I think it leads me to the next point of conversation. I think we're getting right into the juice now, because I found out that even married couples, married over a number of years, are still very shy about all things sexual health and so on and so forth. They can't talk about it. In fact, I did read a very interesting statistic, which I would like for you to weigh in on before I get right into the juice. Is the fact that sexual desire naturally declines for many couples after 2 to 5 years. What do you think about that?
I always like to look at statistics within context. So let's imagine, they said within how many years?
2 to 5 years.
2 to 5 years. What is happening in the average marriage? Children. People start having kids. When you have kids, if you have one child, the entire dynamic of your relationship changes. Before you go to see finish and all that, you are in the trenches. You are for the woman, so much is happening. So much has happened with your body. Pregnancy is great. Pregnancy is purported to be wonderful, but any woman who has been pregnant will tell you that it is a parasitic relationship. Your body is under siege to grow this great human.
for a lack of
No, do you understand? But your body, the things that happen to women, they're great. The things that happen to women's bodies. Some women get cancer. All of a sudden you develop diabetes that you have no family history of it, nothing. You're pregnant and you have diabetes. Women have high blood pressure induced by pregnancy. All kinds of things. Do you know that some women, their teeth fall out during pregnancy? And I'm talking, that's minus the typical ones of, nausea, all the pain, the swelling, the this, the that. There's just so much. Literally, the woman's body is under siege. Then you birth this amazing human. And then for the next year, in fact, I want to even say that for the next 2 years, it will take you at least for you to come back. And sometimes you never get back. And I don't mean physically. I'm saying always, right? There are women that will tell you that the back pain they had when they were pregnant for the rest of, they're still carrying it. There's so much that happens in pregnancy. Now you have this child and you are wrapped up in keeping this child alive because this child depends on you to stay alive. You feed the child, you bathe it, everything is on you. Even if you're a couple where both of you are very hands-on, you are both wrapped up, you will both be wrapped up in the child. And a lot of times you find out that women are carrying a lot of the burden of child raising, the burden of care, the mental load of care. Sometimes even if you're physically sharing it, maybe perhaps you don't live in a country where you can hire help or where childcare is you live in a country where childcare is very expensive. So you both find yourself doing that. But a lot of times you're shouldering a lot of emotional burden, especially women, the burden of care. That will... So when they say it naturally declines, your sexual desire is not there because you're spent.
Something else has taken the front
Something
foot.
else has taken the front foot. You are touched out. There's something about being touched out where a woman is breastfeeding, the child is touching, and children touch a lot. I'm a mom of 3. Children touch a lot. And sometimes you reach a threshold where it's like you're touched out. And I've had women who tell me in counseling that, Olori, I'm just touched out. By the time my husband touches me, or by the time my spouse I want to scream. And it's not because I don't love him. It's because I have reached my threshold. Imagine that, and you're just constantly being touched. You get to a point where you're just like, So sometimes you need time to just get back into yourself, wash away, put away mommyhood, put away daddyhood, do that. So when you're in those trenches, yes, it will naturally decline. But is it naturally declining? Or is it... But a lot of times with intention, this comes back up, because once you start coming out of the trenches, you can, with intention, it's not something that you just say, oh yeah, when the kids are older, things will go back to normal.
Could you give me a 2-step solution you often prefer to your clients who have issues like this?
So if your kids are really little, you start to... A lot of times what people think about are, what are the things we can do to increase our desire? What are the things we can add on? And I always give the idea of when you want to start a car, when you want to move a car, first you start it, whether you push the start or you turn the key, the car starts, the engine starts. Then you want to move it. Do you put your foot on the accelerator first, or do you step on the gas, on the brakes?
Brakes first.
Brakes. Ideally, for someone who has never driven a car, if you were never taught to drive a car and you sat behind the wheel of a car, your first thought would be, oh, I want to start a car. I start it and I press the accelerator for it to move. But you first put your foot on the brake, and what do? You start to take your foot off the brake. So think about your sexual desire in your relationship as a car. You want to first take your foot off the brake. The brake is what is stopping the car from moving. Yeah. So what are the things that are stopping? What are the brakes in your relationship that are getting in the way of desire from moving?
The children.
So sometimes you have to get rid of the children. And what I mean by that is that...
I'd like to interrupt that amazing conversation to share something very dear to my heart. You see, every individual needs the right partners, and businesses are absolutely not left out. Your business will only grow to the degree of the quality of its partnerships. Recently, my team and I partnered with EcoBank to bring our business vision to life, and it's been nothing short of incredible. Through the seamless EcoBank business app, fairs, and many other offerings, they are steadily partnering with business owners across Africa on a daily basis to showcase their wares. And all you need to do is to simply download the EcoBank business app and onboard your business and start transacting, and then stay glued for more updates. I recommend wholeheartedly the EcoBank business app. You should try it. App Store and Google Play Store. Back to the gist.
If you are privileged to have grandparents and people around you, let them go out. Leave the children. Get a babysitter if you live.
Can afford it.
If you can afford it. Also I hope you have a community around you where if you can't afford a babysitter, okay, you know what? I'm going to watch your kids tonight while you and your wife get to go out on a nice date where you can spend time with each other, uninterrupted time, because I won't lie to you. Children are sometimes the weapons fashioned against intimacy. You're like, today, wife, you're getting it. The wife has been, you've scheduled sex. Because people think that everything is always spontaneous, but
sometimes it's shit.
Trust me, the masters schedule sex. Newlyweds, it's spontaneous. Newlyweds are newbies. So for the newbies, they think it's spontaneous. But for the masters, you schedule it, you put it on your calendar. Because you have now reserved
Come on, I need to
energy.
check my calendar from.
No, please go ahead. You have now reserved energy.
Okay, 6 times a week, thank you.
Listen, and maybe both of you will come to your agreement. There's no good amount of time for you to have sex in a week. It's between you and your spouse. Now, you guys have agreed. You knew that today, Friday night, it's going down. You are not going to, if this podcast runs too long, you're going to start wrapping it up. Right? If you had a meeting after this, you're going to be like, oh, right. Somebody calls you.
I have an
Lushola, please. Can you say, please, I have an emergency.
Hey! So sex is an emergency.
Is it not a family emergency?
Makai. Preach, mama.
Is it not? But it is. Your wife is about to leave her engineering job and then they're like, oh my God, there's this thing. Would you be able to? I'm so sorry. I have because she knows that if she enters that meeting, by the time she's done, she's spent. We give empty tanks to the people we love the most. And you start your day at full and you give it all to everything, everybody else.
You give empty tanks to people you love the most after giving full tanks to people who matter the least.
What's that? What's the
Clock it. That was so amazing. So you need to find a way to. It reminds me of the very popular joke we crack from southwestern Nigeria, where your parents send you a rudo, right? They tell you to go and buy something that does not exist so they can have time to create your younger ones. And that's just so incredible.
Because sometimes you're in the middle of, you're like, and then some child comes and, Mommy.
A lot of parents actually attest to having bad genes. And they have to start explaining, Mommy, I heard you shouting. Will you leave here, my dear?
So sometimes you have to,
Mommy.
Look, we have to find ways.
We have to find ways.
And sometimes it might not always be at night. Sometimes maybe you're spent in the evening because you've used all your energy. How about early morning? How about
sometimes he sneaks out of work, and then...
If you can.
Yeah.
If you can. And sometimes it's just early in the morning. Your minds are still foggy. Everything is the day that child has not woken up yet. Your 100 list of to-dos. You go out your day with a pep in your step.
Hey.
And testosterone is even higher in the morning.
Oh.
So if you're trying to conceive, it's a good time.
I'm jotting things down. That's interesting. Anyways, I wanted to get to a little bit of the juice. Okay. Now, I said that because now the vast majority of married couples still see sexual intimacy or conversations around sexual health as a bit of awkward. There's quite a number of people, particularly, I need to say my gender. We're like, we're high performers, so let's just leave it at that. If you have any concerns, you can't even fill feedback form, right? I raise your hand. And in fact, I need to say, it's been proven statistically that less than 25% of men, a paltry, less than 25% of men with sexual difficulties even ever get to the point of seeking professional help. Many suffer silently. And we need to say this, for God's sakes. When we talk about sexual health issues like erectile dysfunction, things like premature ejaculation, even things like STDs and the likes, right? It's funny how everyone hears about it, but people don't act like nobody's going through it, at least not them. There's a funny joke of how everyone says, my mom is the sweetest mom in the world. Whose mom then is the witch? Whose mom then is the annoying secretary that doesn't let people at the office breathe? Whose mom is the crazy HR, right? Everyone keeps pointing accusing fingers to others, and deep down, they are suffering. And so I have a plethora of questions.
Okay.
It's a case of how many you can take or how far you can go. But they're quite a number, so I'll just perhaps prioritize them. I'll start off with this. How can a man improve his endurance in bed?
So we're saying, how do you delay ejaculation?
How do you delay ejaculation?
Okay.
Now, before you weigh in,
okay,
this is a very, very serious conversation. I don't know if you'd admit this, but it feels as though the onus is usually more on the man than the woman for great sex. It feels like men have to outperform, or men, think about it, societally, we say it in subtle ways, and some people say it meaningfully. A man is likelier, I dare say 5 times likelier, to be shamed for his inability to perform sexually on the bed, on the papa, than a woman. From where I stand. And I'm speaking, I dare say, for so many men, and there are millions around the world. You hear things like, oh, he could not even last more than 2 seconds. He's a 2-minute man. Oh, he's a 60-second man, right? But it feels as though for the woman, there seems to be no seconds attached or no metrics tied to her performance. But
there is. Women are self-conscious about being well lubricated. If she's not well lubricated, it's a problem. It shows that it usually tends to signal that she's not aroused. Women fake orgasms a lot. Women fake orgasms way more than men do. Why is that? It's because if she doesn't, then the problem is with her. The man is not going to say it's because, the man is not likely to say, oh, it's because I could not satisfy her. He's more likely to say, oh, there's a problem with you because every other woman I had sex with had an orgasm. Every other woman was satisfied. What is wrong with you? Why are you so frigid? And then you start going into it. So this does not take away from the struggles of men, because men do have a lot of performance anxiety. A lot of their, should I say, and men tie a lot of their ego, tie a lot of their self-worth and how they view themselves with their ability to perform in bed. The issue is the concept of performance.
tell me.
Sex is not a performance. It is a connection. You're not there to finish her. You're not there as a man to go and just keep going. You know, you're not at the Olympics. It is connection. So we need to first, on both sides, stop looking at sex as this Olympic sport. It is not a race. It's not a marathon. It's a journey that we're going on with somebody that you hopefully love, and you're there to experience each other's bodies. When we start looking at sex from the lens of curiosity, from the lens of savoring, versus we're just in a rush to eat, you want to chop and clean out, but you're here for a full course buffet. It's not running anywhere.
Appetize me.
Have the small chops, drink some pepper soup, eat small rice, go back, have some more pepper soup. Oh, that salad looks nice. Let me chop small salad. Okay, look at that ice cream. I'm coming to that later. You know, oh, this jollof is nice. Okay, I put it with a bit of spaghetti. I usually don't put spaghetti and jollof. Some people might think it's weird, but this combo might bang. And you try it, and it does. You know, that's what sex is. You're savoring different small. But because, again, it's a lack of education that makes us feel like, okay, we're going in there, I'm just going to show her what I'm made of. And the woman is there like, I have to show that I have to show that I'm enjoying it even when she's not. So she pretends, and he is doing, and then there's this anxiety about how much he's performing. And so he's just like, oh, I have to go. Oh my God, I might confess. Let me tell you. The average time between penetration, penetration is not the beginning of sex, and ejaculation is not the end of the sexual act. It's just a part of the buffet. But the average time between when penetration occurs and when ejaculation occurs is between 2 to 3 minutes. 5 minutes, max. So this is not to say, of course, you know, we have...
Some will do lesser, some will do... Yeah,
the bell curve.
Sure. But how come many men have been led to think it's 30 minutes, it's 20 minutes?
Because they're watching porn.
Because they're so lies on Twitter.
Because they're getting their education from pornography. They're getting it from the media. That's not education, that's entertainment. It's not meant to educate. It doesn't show real life. If you close your eyes and think about the most romantic movie scene you've ever seen, Does this movie scene include your wife texting you on WhatsApp asking you, do we have enough petrol in the gen? Does it include you driving in traffic to get home? Does it include making dinner? So, look, I work as an intimacy coordinator on films and TV shows.
Wow.
In fact, I will tell you that I'm the first intimacy coordinator for film and TV in Nigeria. My job is to make you, the audience, be so wrapped up, believe in the romance of this film, and be so wrapped up in the emotions. And it is a very technical thing. We are making two people that are not romantically connected look like they are, look like they cannot do without each other, make you feel like, oh, this is it. So what you get when you watch the finished product, which has been cut, stop, oh, cut, okay, no, do this, okay, let's watch it from this angle, let's do this. But by the time you see it, it's a seamless production. What the audience gets is the climax without context. So now you have watched that. And that is your idea of romance.
You're comparing your own reality with the highlights of someone else.
In those romantic scenes, if you even watch it and they're like having sex, you don't see them taking lube. So now, you who is aroused but is not as well lubricated feels like by saying, oh, let's get lube, oh, let's pause for a second and apply lube, you think that that's not romantic. So you don't say anything. And so you don't bring up the lube, you don't use the lube. Then penetration happens, or even physical, just fingers start stimulating your genitals and it's dry and there's friction, it's heat, it leads to pain, and you say nothing because it will spoil the mood. But the mood is already spoiled because you're not enjoying yourself. And then you act like you are enjoying it. The man feels like, oh, I must perform for 30 minutes. I must perform for as long as possible. They are drinking all kinds of things that are killing their livers, wrecking their kidneys, all in the name of performance. Meanwhile, if he pays attention to her body, we'll probably realize that external clitoral stimulation will get her to orgasm much more efficiently than penetration. So he could have paid more attention to that. She has reached orgasm at least maybe even once before any penetration occurs. So by the time penetration is happening, if it's only 3 minutes long, she's already there. So that 3 minutes, it's fine. She's not dissatisfied. If he realizes that even after he ejaculates, he can continue to stimulate her and also prioritize her pleasure, then it doesn't matter if he ejaculated in 2 minutes, because she knows that my partner cares about my pleasure as well. So he's not going to ejaculate and just sleep. Yes, there's a refractory period where a man might need time, a few minutes, depending on the person, to be able to get back to erection. But you don't need an erection to pleasure a woman. God gave you 10 fingers, a mouth.
Use those hands.
Use your mouth, use your hands.
Whatever your hands find it to do, do with all your mind.
So if we start to understand sex from a lens of curiosity, are you discovering your partner's body? Or you are just paying attention to the genitals? You have so many nerve endings. Yes, the clitoris is the one organ that is created just for pleasure. So don't neglect her. But the neck, the ears, the shoulders, the armpits, the sides, the legs, the inner thighs, the tips of your feet, your soles of your feet, they all have nerve endings, erogenous zones. So we just realize that we're actually doing ourselves a disservice by only paying attention to this. So the men are there like playing the clitoris, because I've said the clitoris now, they are the clitoral head, just playing it like a DJ booth. They've not asked her, does she like her clitoris being stimulated? She herself might not even know.
So some men find it awkward communicating midway sex.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because they don't communicate when there's no sex. They don't sit at the table having conversations and let's talk about sex, baby. We don't talk about sex most couples talk about sex only when they want to take their clothes off or when the clothes are off. Then you now start asking questions. That's when you want to say, oh, I would like us to try this. If you want to introduce something, if you want to ask a question, you want to ask it at a very neutral time. You're just having dinner. You might even feel shy about talking about it verbally at first. Send it as a chat. There's no performance anxiety involved because I'm not about to take off my clothes, or it's not after. So most couples either talk about it just before or after. Of course, it's going to be awkward because now if you're having it afterwards, what does it sound like? It's a performance review. But imagine if you're just like, okay, we're doing this. We've been doing. I really love that. That we try to connect more. Maybe, for example, she wants us to have more sex. She wants to have more sex, and maybe they're having sex. I don't know. I'm not going to give it time because now I'm going to be quoted about what is good and what is bad, and I'm not going to fall into that.
Oh my!
But now she says, okay, I really like it when we connect. Every time we get together, it's really great. But I noticed that. You do the sandwich method of feedback, and I'm sure, as a consultant, you understand that, right? You sandwich what you want.
Yeah.
First, you give compliment,
criticism, compliment.
That's it. So you give the compliment. And sometimes you might say, somebody might say, oh, I have nothing to compliment. Everything is all bad. There will be something good about this person. So you give that compliment. Or you say, oh, I like how we've been trying to work on our relationship and get it better. But then I noticed that and then you always look at it as us versus the problem. Yeah. Not me versus you.
Yeah.
Because when I say you're always in a rush, you always want to have sex fast, you are ready to go, you fall asleep right after, then it's now an attack on you. But if I say, I would like for us to spend more time when we're having sex. I would like for us to spend maybe a little more time before we even go to penetration, because I really love it when you love upon me. I love what your hands do. I love what, be as specific as you can. And I would like more of that. For the man, you're like, okay, and sometimes women, it's like men. Let me give you an example. So you're stimulating her body and she's enjoying it. You can see that her breath is starting to hitch, like she's getting close, right? And maybe the rhythm is, and she's getting there. She's getting close, and you're seeing it. And you know what usually happens? Men start doing this. You've changed the rhythm. What was getting her close? When you switch, it goes bye-bye.
You want that to accelerate?
You want to accelerate because you're an efficient person. You're like, okay, I'm looking at the finish line. It's like a marathon. You've been slow, steady, but now you see the finish line. You sprint to the finish line. You don't sprint to the finish line. Continue that rhythm.
Pace.
That pace that was getting you there, just continue it. Because that's what gets her there. So at the point where you switch rhythms and whatnot, it's like her brain just short circuits and goes back, and now we're back to square one. And then she's like, oh no, the orgasm is gone.
Oh.
And then sometimes she's like, babe, no, just like that. And sometimes she doesn't want to talk because she's just like, because she thinks that a lot of your ego is tied to your performance. So her saying this or giving directions, her giving you pointers in the middle of sex should not make you feel any type of way, because you should be secure enough in yourself to understand that criticism, positive, everything is not always negative. Direction. You don't know her house as well as you. You can't know the way to my... It's like you're coming to my house. Can you know the way to my house better than me? When you call and say, oh, I'm stuck here, because I know the routes, I can say, oh, you're stuck here. Okay, that road is not going... Okay, let's go left and right. And you'll still get there. But sometimes, even for women, we don't know our bodies. We can't even give you directions because we ourselves don't know. And that is for a lot of women. If you ask a lot of women, what do you like? You should just know. You assume that someone is coming to your house, they should just know the way. How can they just know the way? Which is why it's good to understand your body, understand what your body likes. So you can then share it with him and you're not shy about it. And if you're shy, initially understand that you have taken off your clothes. Because trust me,
seen my nakedness.
he has seen it. He's happy to be there.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes with women, it's also about, our bodies, our self-image, and all those things are also tied into it. So there's a lot, honestly.
I'm going to come a little bit more to that, but I think in the interim, you've been doing a lot of manual showing and so on and so forth. And
I'm very demonstrative.
Incredible. It's a very good way to teach. And so, speaking about demonstrations or just teaching generally, how can a man combat premature ejaculation?
You did ask that question and I didn't know. I just realized as you're saying it, I never answered it.
That's okay.
So, first thing is delay penetration as long as possible. Delay penetration. But now you started penetration. How do you then delay ejaculation? Before you even start in the process, there are Kegel exercises, pelvic floor exercises that help men, that help you learn how to control.
How effective are Kegel exercises?
For men, they are. And it's not just Kegel, but pelvic floor exercises. So Kegels are one type, but there are also quite a number of pelvic floor exercises that you can do to strengthen your pelvic floor. And then you are able to control your pelvic floor better. So that's one way. So really, people don't realize this, but the better physical shape you are in, and I'm not talking about like lose weight or blah, blah, but being fit helps a lot. Now, in the process of the sexual act itself, you try to delay penetration as much as also you're engaging in a lot of foreplay, engaging in a lot of simulation of her as well. Now, there's something called edging, which when you are penetrating, you're stimulating, there's the edge of a cliff, right? The point of no return, where after this point, you ejaculate. You know that you have that feeling of the build-up. When you get close to the edge, don't allow yourself, whatever stimulation is bringing you close to the edge, you stop it. And you move back. You don't go all the way to the beginning, but you pause it.
Wouldn't that affect the partner?
You do something else. Remember, sex is a buffet.
But the sexual high that your partner was deriving from the continuous strokes, pausing the strokes could signal. Think about it. You talked earlier about maybe a woman trying to reach the point of orgasm, changing rhythms.
Yes, you do. You change the rhythm, but you're edging. You're also edging. It's also edging for her. So this is a way of, you get here and then you pause. So instead of coming all the way down, you are at 95%. You come to 80. You stop that particular sensation and you start doing something else. And I know it sounds counterintuitive. And now you go back to it. Now but instead of starting from 0, you're at 75, right? You've gone from 95, you're at 75. You build up from that 75 again to 95. Then you pause it. What you're doing is you're also building up on the sensation. So it makes for a more powerful orgasm, and it also helps you delay it. But what it is that while you're doing it, your partner has to be in on it. Because if they're not, then they'll start thinking, what's going on? Why is this starting or stopping? Then now she's in her head. And now it becomes counterproductive. So your partner has to know and understand what is going on. Because a lot of times, again,
and so your partner has to watch this video as you're watching it. Because a lot of
men tie a lot of their ego to and their self-worth to their performance, men are shy to have these conversations. But your woman knows. If a woman is having sex with you, she knows that you might have issues with premature ejaculation, but she's still there. So don't be afraid to have that conversation with her. And just be like, babe, I want to prolong this to last for you. And also, I think that men don't realize that penetration is not the most effective way for women to achieve orgasm. It's the most efficient route for men, but it's not the most efficient route for women.
What's the fastest way to get a woman to reach orgasm?
Clitoral stimulation. External clitoral stimulation. Women will have better orgasms if, in fact, a combo of both, right? You're penetrating. So you are stimulating the clitoris from the inside, because people think the clitoris is just the knob, the hood that we see on the outside. That's just the head. The clitoris extends down, has legs that straddle the sides, the openings of the vagina. So if this is the vagina, because the vagina is not the external genitalia, that's the vulva. The vagina is the passage where the penis enters, that's where blood comes out of, that's where children come out of. At the bottom, so the clitoral hood is towards the top, right? If you follow the labia minora up, it's at the top of that where they intersect. Now, the clitoral underneath, right? What people like to call the G-spot is really the conglomerate of nerves that are on the inside. So it can be stimulated from the inside. That's when penetration is happening, it's being stimulated from the inside. Now you're stimulating from the inside and you're also stimulating from outside, externally. But you can, women will reach orgasm from external stimulation. That has nothing to do with penetration, rather. So when men think, oh, when I stop penetration, it would delay for women. Yes, but penetration alone, 80% of women will not have an orgasm with just penetration. They need that penetration, external clitoral stimulation of the genitals, and stimulation of other erogenous zones.
That's interesting. I once heard a very popular woman in showbiz make a very, do I say, sad statement? I really do not know. But she said it wasn't until she had her fourth child for her ex-husband that she had an orgasm for the very first time. When I heard that, now, at this point, this was years ago, maybe about 10 years back, and I didn't even know so much about those things, right? So I couldn't really understand, right? I was trying to get why that was the case, but it just speaks to the fact that at least that's a woman who is vocal enough about her struggles. There are several other sexual pleasure-starved women in marriage who perhaps even have sex every Eke market day, but are not doing so excitedly and with as much pleasure as possible. And a lot of this is down to this problem of the lack of education. Not many men know this. And just for the sake of anyone who's wondering or who may have questions, how do you measure female orgasm? Is it by skirting or squirting or whatever it's called? Or is it by any form of liquid whatsoever coming out of the vagina? How's orgasm measured? Is it measured by the extent of the liquid that comes out, or is it measured by the height of the shouts? Or how much he hits you and says, that's what I'm talking about. I'm nothing but the voice of the people, right? I need to say a bit of a caveat. All the questions I'm asking are not personal questions.
You're asking for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend. Right. Yes.
Well
Thank you
noted.
very much.
Okay, so I think that, in fact, I know that this is what causes a lot of, when men say, but then how do I, like for me as a man, once I ejaculate, I'm good. But how do I tell that a woman has had an orgasm? I want to say that there's actually a difference between ejaculation and orgasm. A man can ejaculate without having an orgasm.
Tell me.
We tie, it's usually connected. Usually ejaculation and orgasm are happening around the same time. So it's, because what is an orgasm? If you want to try to define it, it is a release of tension. You are building up the tension in the genital area, in the pelvic area, and then you release that tension. Ejaculation is a release of fluid. For men, it is a release of semen. And ejaculation and orgasm for men typically tend to happen about the same time. So you're experiencing that release of pressure, and then you're also, or release of tension, and you're also ejaculating, releasing fluid. So you almost always seems like when a man ejaculates, you can see physical evidence of his orgasm, because it is, you've built, and then release. For women, just like men, how you don't always see ejaculation and orgasm at the same time. Most times for women, you're not seeing them together. So there's usually no physical expression of it. In fact, if a woman is always screaming, women have learned from porn and watching in the media, not always just porn, but from the media, let me just use that when women in films and TV reach orgasm, there's always a shout or there's something dramatic that happens. And so women have learned to fake. So when they fake, they will scream, they will shout, they will just shake their bodies. And men are quite gullible.
Oh my.
And believe that. But again, for women, it could be a shout. It could be also like you have been holding your breath and now you just take a breath. It might be as undramatic as that.
There might be no liquid coming out.
There might be no liquid. Sometimes it might show as extra lubrication. Some women, when they have an orgasm, they'll just have extra lubrication. She might just be a little more wet than she was a minute ago. Some women actually dry up from ejaculation. Women, there's no hard or fast rule. But what I tell women a lot, because women then say, okay, so how do I know that I've had an orgasm, or how do I know? Because it's that buildup of tension that is now released. That release can be a shout, and it could also be
So it varies from person to person?
From person to person and from situation to situation. You might have a shouting orgasm that's shaking your body this morning, and tonight you're just having a relaxed.
Is it possible for a woman to have an orgasm and not know?
No.
She'll know.
You will know because your body you will feel different. You will feel what usually happens with women also is that when women say, I don't think I've ever had an orgasm, then I say, okay, because our bladders are very close to your clitoris and your genitals, when that pressure is building up, it feels like you want to pee. It feels like you're pressed because there's pressure on your bladder. And so what happens for a lot of women is that when they're not as in tune to their bodies, they think, oh, wow, I'm about to pee. So what they do is they hold the pee. And women are very good at holding the pee.
Oh, hi. I'd like to take a very quick break to tell you about something that has been a major game changer for not just myself, but for several other business owners as well. You know, for a while, I was actually struggling with managing finances, tracking expenditure, and curbing theft in my businesses. And all of my efforts actually proved futile until I was introduced to Budgetti. Budgetti is a financial management platform built for African businesses. And with it, you get to issue things like virtual corporate cards to your team, set spending limits, track every transaction in real time, and even get to approve requests instantly, all from your phone. Look, if you run a business, either big or small, all you have to do is check out Budgetti today at www.budgetti.com. Trust me, it will change the way you manage your business's finances. I'll do good to remind you at the end of this episode. Anyways, let's get back to the video.
Yes.
We can go the whole day without peeing because you don't want to use a bathroom. Sometimes there are no restrooms that are conducive enough for you to use. And so you wait until you go home.
We don't have that superpower.
Men it's not about having that. It's not a superpower. All these things are learned skills. If I'm in a place and there's no toilet, men can just walk to the side of the gutter and pee. Go to the back of a building and pee, even if there's no toilet available. But I, as a woman, would not just be able to go to just stand on the road. Men, you're driving or walking on the streets of Lagos, and men are just peeing on the side of buildings. You don't see women doing that. And it's not because they have a superpower, but because it requires me lifting up my clothes to do that on the road. Women,
it's too invasive.
It's too invasive and it's culturally frowned upon.
Yeah.
So women hold their peace. So
It's
it's not behavior.
Not like biological.
We always think it's biological. A lot of this is learned behavior. If women had options to be able to pee anywhere, they would do it as well. So now, because she has learned how to hold her pee, when she feels pressed during sex, the tension is building up. It feels really nice. It's good. But now it's like the pressure is immense on her bladder and she feels like she wants to pee. Not recognizing that this is an orgasm that's building up. She tenses up and holds. And what happens is that gets in the way of the orgasm. So she might not have experienced orgasm. She's experienced the build-up. So a lot of women will tell you, yes, oh, it feels good when he does this, the soft touches, the caresses, the stimulation of my erogenous zones, the breast, the nipples, the genitals, and all that. We're getting close, but then they tense. And then it goes back. And they don't follow that sensation to the end.
Perry made a crack a joke.
Please crack it.
By following that sensation to the end, some have excreted on bed. Some have. I heard something.
Women say, oh, now you've peed, and they're self-conscious about peeing, but they are squirting.
I've heard that squirting is, someone said squirting is about 90% urine. How true is that?
It's not 90%, but it does contain some urine, maybe around 20-something% of it, depending on who does it. But again, right, why are we as women so self-conscious of squirting when men literally excrete from their penis where they pee out of? I've not heard of a man that's like, oh my God, I don't want to ejaculate. They are happy to just ejaculate anywhere. But we have been shamed. Again, it's because women's bodies have been so policed. Even something as natural as menstruating, we feel ashamed that we're menstruating. Or if I stand up from this chair right now, and if I was on my period and I stood up from this chair and I was stained, I would feel so ashamed, right? Society says I should feel bad about it. I will try to walk in a way that nobody can see it. I will try to block the chair to make sure nobody can see it. Because that's how we have been trained. Because we think of our body fluids as dirty, unhygienic, something we should be ashamed of. And that's why women are afraid to let go, because I don't want to pee. So what if you squirt? So what if you pee? The man is peeing inside you. It's a different type of pee, but the
It is penis.
It's penis, right? And you are gladly accepting it. He doesn't feel like he's dirty.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, he's like, I'm the King Kong. Babe, you're the babe. So it's a lot of this it's a reprogramming of the mind to look at it in a different angle and appreciate our bodies more for what it's doing and for the things. So don't be ashamed of it.
All of these things considered, why do women fake orgasm? I know you've mentioned earlier that many times it's, you said stuff like some are trying to act like it's not just the men who are having the pleasures and so on and so forth, but there are quite a number of other reasons, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think chief of them is married women, for example, trying to make their men not feel inadequate.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Yes.
It feels like, okay, he's hit the climax. I also have to let him know that he did a good job.
Especially because, men are more woke now, and men will tell you they put a lot of stock in satisfying their woman. Yeah. Maybe, years ago, 50 years ago, it was about, how fast they came and blah, blah, blah. Maybe they didn't care as much. But now they want to say that I satisfied her. They ask questions like, oh, did you come? They want to see that they have satisfied her. So she's like, you know what, he's been working. He's doing all this work. Poor boy. Let me just let him finish. Sometimes it's just, look, we've been at this thing for so long. I'm tired. I want to sleep. If I fake it, he will release me and then we can end it. Sometimes also, there's a lot tied to it. Like if he feels happy about this, then perhaps he's more likely to do the things I want him to do. So there's a transactional nature to it as well. Sometimes if a woman does not feel safe in her relationship, emotionally or physically safe, you don't want to be forming like you've not come, because that could mean boost for you upfront. So it could be, it's a plethora of reasons. But I always try to help women understand that if you're with someone who loves you, if you're with somebody, I hope, and this is not always the case, but I hope that you're with somebody who actually cares for you. And this person wants you to be pleasured. When you fake, what you're doing is you're giving this person a formula, the wrong formula, because you've told them that this is a pathway to my pleasure. All they're going to do is
Keep doing that.
And they're just going to toe that line, not realizing that they're going the wrong way. And if this person cares for you, and you're faking or lying just to protect their feelings will be way more hurt when they discover that this whole time you've been pretending. But if you approach it from another thing we have to realize is that you don't have to have an orgasm every single time. Every single sexual encounter must not end in an orgasm, whether for her or for him. And it's okay. Sometimes you actually had an orgasm this pathway. And then tomorrow, you're trying that pathway again and it's not happening. Could be where your mind is at. It could be your hormones. It could be so many things. There's so many factors that come into play. It could just be that you're tired. And sometimes you might need to rest. But you really want to be there. And it's okay for you to be like, babe, this has been great. I'm enjoying it. I've enjoyed our time together. I have not had an orgasm. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. It doesn't mean that we didn't connect, because sex is not just for physical release, remember, it's for emotional connection. It's also a stress reliever. So now we have relieved stress, we have emotionally bonded. Perhaps the physical release has not happened, but it should not be that 100% of the time there's no orgasm. But if it so happens that we did not reach orgasm now, did you have your buffet? You just didn't have ice cream. You just didn't finish up with dessert. You catch it next time because you're already full.
I can attest to the fact that sex is a stress relief. Does a better work than analgesic. Absolutely.
Sometimes when someone says, "Oh, I have a headache," have you tried sex?
Something could be lacking.
Have you tried
Like
sex? Have you tried sex?
Sometimes say I'm having a long day. Have you tried sex?
Sometimes it's just a quick, like a quick snack. And sometimes, that's why, look, sometimes it's a quick snack, and sometimes it's a long
one.
So it just depends
Finding the balance.
And determining where you are and what your needs are at that particular time.
Still talking about exploring the body of a woman. On some section of public opinion, some men, I think this is rather distasteful though, but I've seen cases where some men shame women for not being liquid enough down there. Mm-hmm. They associate different terminologies for that. Is she a creamer or something like that? Mm-hmm. Is she a tap or something like that, and so on and so forth? Or is she not? Is she dry down there? Now, a young, newly wedded person could just be watching this and going, oh my God, every single time we've had sex, we've always had to lube up. I feel bad. I feel like not much can be done. Now, I'm a man enough to know that, for example, as a man, you have a role to play also, maybe by doing a little bit more things to stimulate and so on and so forth. And also for the fact that sometimes it could be the case, sometimes it could not be the case, and so on and so forth. But there's a woman here watching who's saying, is there any hope, right? And now what happens is this. It's so much that when things like, or statements like that are passed around, some other side of the spectrum, there's some people trying to prey on those women's fears by selling them perhaps false remedies. And you begin to hear things like, there's this cream that if you rub it around your vagina, it will bring things. There's this, that. That's why it's a common misconception. Some have even gone to the point of saying things like, if you drink okra water, mm-hmm. You'll be creamier down there. And so, Olori, on behalf of all the sexually active women in the world, I want to ask, does okra water aid lubrication down there?
Actually, I did a video on this.
Oh, really?
There was a time, I think maybe a year or two ago, when it was trending, drink okra water. It's very
it was
very
like 2 years
super.
ago. Yeah.
This is how I'm going to break it down. And I like us to be very logical about it. Okra water is water. Let's talk about some of the reasons. Let's go back and say, what are the reasons why women are not as lubricated as they would like to be? Usually the top cause is dehydration. You're not drinking enough water. What is vaginal lubrication? 95% water. So if you're dehydrated, you're not drinking your 2 to 3 liters of water a day. If you live in a country like Nigeria, where it's very humid, you're losing a lot of water by sweating, and you're not drinking enough water to replace it, it's not going to magically appear. You are going to have less lubrication. Hormones. Depending on where your hormones are at, it will affect your lubrication. Depending on where in your cycle you are, a woman is more likely to be more lubricated around ovulation because her body is preparing to take in sperm because she's getting the egg ready to be fertilized. So she's more likely to have more lubrication at that time. She will even see on her panties more vaginal discharge, even without any stimulation. Now, sometimes you're aroused. There's something called like an arousal disconcordance, where your mind is aroused. You are aroused physically.
Your body hasn't responded.
But your vagina has not responded by giving more lubrication. It's not a problem per se. This is why we have tools. We have lubricants. But there is so much shame. People will tell me, I just want to be able to, have sex without having to use lubricant. Why not say, I just want to be able to move from Ikeja to Ikoyi with just my legs, the natural way. Oh, I just want to be able to cook. I could just use my hands. Why am I using a spoon? Why am I driving a car? Why am I using a gas cooker? I should just be able to rub stones and dry grass together to create fire instead of using a lighter. We have remedies. We have tools for a reason. They're to make our lives easier. Lubricants work for a reason. Do not be ashamed or shy to have them. If you are sexually active, you should have at least one type of lubricant at your disposal, whether water-based, oil-based, silicone-based, depending on.
Right beside your bed.
Look,
Hallelujah.
when you're like this, for you to be able to do like,
of your hands.
open the drawer, reach in.
Come on now. It's even rather advised to have in different areas of your house.
Listen, because we're not advising you to only have sex in your bedroom,
Exactly.
right? As many places as you can. No, let's be real, right? And people think, because remember what I said about the most romantic movies not showing the realities of. You don't see people talking about birth control. You don't see people talking about lubricants. You don't see people saying, oh, pick the condom and use the condom. How many movies have you seen where a couple is having sex and they're using condoms? So even people that are married think that married people don't use condoms. Married people use condoms a lot. People think that people that are sexually attracted to each other and so hot for each other and aroused don't use lubricant. They do. Sometimes you even start without lubricant. You're lubricated enough and you're going. But what's happening during penetration is friction. What happens to water? If my hands are wet, now I keep rubbing. If I keep rubbing, it's going to dry because friction creates heat. Heat will dry the water up. That's what's happening in the vagina. It dries. And so sometimes you need to pause, get some lube, apply, and continue. It doesn't take away from the romance. It doesn't reduce arousal. You can apply it on your partner and your partner applies it to you. It's just a pause. It's not even a pause because, again, you are continuing to touch each other. You're continuing to stimulate each other. It's a part of it. These are the contexts that we're seeing that adds to the climax because we, as human beings, we live contextual lives. So you take that lube and you add it. What does lube do? It reduces friction. It enhances pleasure because the slip now enhances pleasure. So why are you, when you have these things at your disposal, but no, Lori, I just want to be natural. I just want, I should just be my dear. Then you have people preying on people's insecurities. Yeah. And some of these things work. So now back to okra water. Okra water is mostly water. So if you drink enough okra water, what are you drinking? Water. What are you doing? Hydrating. People think that the okra water, because it's slimy, right? It mimics vaginal lubrication. Now, when you put food, the okra water enters your mouth. The enzymes in your saliva start to work on it. It moves down the esophagus, enters the stomach. Hydrochloric, the acids in the stomach start to work on it. By the time it reaches the vagina, it doesn't look like the way it looked. It's no longer slimy. In fact, by the time it's hitting your stomach, slime is gone. So that idea that the slime is coming and making you more slimy, it's just an old wives' tale.
Interesting.
It's increasing lubrication by giving you more water.
But water can actually do that also.
Ordinary water will give you.
Thank you for debunking that and putting that to bed. I know you've mentioned this before, but just maybe for a minute, I want to ask, and just so it's not as though I didn't ask, because you just said it in passing, but how long should sex last?
As long as you both want it to. There is no amount of time. Remember also, we think that sex is from penetration to ejaculation. That's not the beginning of sex. That's not the beginning, that's not the end of sex.
It begins long before.
It has started long before, and it can continue. It ends when you both say it does. It should end when you're both satisfied. Not when one person ejaculates and then falls asleep. I'm just saying.
Oh my, it feels like you're currently handling so many cases of men.
No. But women are, look, I don't want it to seem like the problem lies at the foot of men.
Oh, no, sure. Not
because I want to also say that society has made women feel like we don't need to be active participants in our sex. So the man should do all the work. He should know what to do now. What do you do, sis? You just lie down there, or we usually tend to have women on two sides of the extremes. The ones that lie down there and don't do much because good girls pretend like they don't know what they're doing, and I'm just a good girl. You know, they say we want a lady in the street and they freak in the bed. So they're there like, what do I do? And sometimes it's not even pretending. They legit don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then you have the woman on the other side of the spectrum where it's like, I need to keep my man. So I have to learn all the learnables. I've gone to the Kama Sutra. I'm putting my legs this way. They said that if I'm giving head, I'm focusing on the tip, but I'm also stroking the ball. I'm doing this. No. What am I doing so that they don't take him outside?
You're already coming from a defensive man.
What's happening there is that she is focused on performance. She's looking at herself from the outside. If you dip it, she might be enjoying herself mentally, like, getting that mental satisfaction of, I did this. I pleasured him. So he's now mine, and he thinks that I'm so great in bed. But has she enjoyed herself? A lot of what is marketed to women as sexual enhancers, drinks, all these other things, you don't hear, the narrative is not, take this and you will have a great time. Take this and you, the woman, will achieve orgasm. Take this and you will enjoy yourself so much. It's typically, take this and you will wow him. Take this and you'll be so wet that he will enjoy himself so much. I would love to see pleasure enhancers for women's pleasure. More of that. Where it's, take this and you will have a great time. Because there's an orgasm gap. For every time men and women have sex, 90%, if a man and a woman are having sex 100 times, the man will ejaculate or reach orgasm. A man will reach orgasm about 95% of the time, and a woman will only reach orgasm about 60% of the time. There's that gap. Meanwhile, women know how to pleasure themselves. When a woman understands what pleasures her, if a woman is self-pleasuring, that gap does not exist. So if a woman understands her pleasure and can translate this into showing her partner...
Communicate it.
Sometimes, maybe not by mouth, sometimes it's physical, like he's doing his hand like this. And what you like is zigzag. Put your hand on his hand and change that to a zigzag pattern.
I think this is very... I like how...
How made you speechless?
Yeah.
I like how Papa used the word. I'm trying to use the word. I like how rudimentary you're getting, and how demonstrative you are, because it's a very serious issue. In fact, there's a statistic that I read that supports this claim that up to 70% of women report a difficulty reaching orgasm during partnered sex.
Yes.
At some point in their marriage. And so it's quite a bit of an issue.
And not just married women too.
Yeah.
Even because people think that when you're not married, you know,
Yes.
the sex is great and hot.
Yeah.
And then when you get married, it's not. But if
wrong.
you speak to women that are not married,
And
that are
sexually
having
active.
sex and sexually active, you will see these similar
Same-
patterns. The patterns don't change.
It's not a problem that comes with marriage.
It's not, yeah, I mean, of course, you know, when you're married, then comes, you know, the burdens of care and all the other things that come in. But even if you're not married and you have a long-term, you have a partner that you're engaging in sex with, even, in fact, you know that young people are having less sex than the generations before. Young unmarried people. And I was watching
Why?
a documentary. There are quite a number of reasons. I was even thinking that it would be great to see this. These studies have been done in the US, in the UK, in Asia. It would be interesting to see if those numbers also tally in Nigeria and in Africa as well. Why? There are a number of reasons. Economics. People are living. People. If you don't have money. But that does not always occur like in a place like Nigeria, because a lot of Nigerians are living under the poverty line and we are the most populous. However, younger people are delaying having sex because they are seeing the consequences more, and they're not ready to have kids. You know, we're seeing, you know, the generations are shrinking, right? Our parents, I mean, by the time our parents were 30, they had how many kids? And now many 30-year-olds don't even have children on the horizon, or they might have one. Or people are saying, okay, you know what, I'm just going to have one or two kids. But they're also spending a lot of time on the internet. They're also spending a lot of time on social media, and that is replacing the time that they're not going to bars, they're not going to parties, they are not socializing in person as much. If you talk to the typical 20-something-year-old, he doesn't have as much game as his dad did. He can chat a lot, but in person, they are finding it harder to have conversations. You know, back in the day, you're walking on the street, a man sees a woman he likes and he walks up to her and he's just like,
See me.
and starts spitting game. But you are likely to see that a guy will see a babe, go and look for her on Instagram, go and look for her on Twitter, or people are meeting more online. But the thing is, because they're having less sex, you are seeing that even people that are not married, that are in long-term relationships, are also having less sex than they were. And they're also showing, and also if women are saying, look, what's the point? I'm having sex, I have sex with you, I don't enjoy it. It's an exercise in futility, I'd rather just not.
I think a bit of that is also tied to the communication thing we mentioned earlier, right? People now have the world at their hands, or rather the world at the snap of a finger, or at the grasp of their hands and their palms, and sometimes they create their own universe. Right, there's a bit of a disconnect. Whew, that's interesting. Now I'm enjoying this conversation. I don't know where all the time went to, right? But I kid you not, like we're about an hour 30 minutes gone already, and thank God I don't have a time cap to this. In fact, I'm sure so many people will be like, there's still one or two questions you've not asked. You've not asked my question, and it leads me to quite some other pressing ones, right? As I've been having the conversation, more have been popping in my head, and one of those questions is, does size matter? Does the size of a man's penis have anything to do with how great the sex turns out?
It depends on who you ask.
Tell me.
For some people it does, and for some people it doesn't. It's a nuanced question. Now, if you ask a lot of women, more women are concerned about the girth, the thickness than the length. Men tend to think length is what matters. For many women, they like girth because that girth is fullness. And that fullness means stimulation of the clitoris from the underside. So more stimulation and more pleasure for them. Men associate, their penis size with how much of a man they are. But the average penis, erect penis, is about the length of your phone.
5.6 inches.
Yes, about the length of the average smartphone.
That's one of the only things I researched in my days of sexual ignorance.
And remember that I said that penetration alone is not the most efficient route to orgasm for about 80% of women. So you can ask woman A, and she'll tell you, size matters. I want a big man. Most of the time she's talking girth because a long, thin penis would not necessarily achieve what a shorter, thicker penis would. And it's not just about the size, it's knowing what to do with it.
So skill is more important than size.
More important, but again, I don't want to have a blanket statement because some people will say, me, I like it big. I want it big. And there are women that run away from big penises and they see it and like, where is this going to fit? This one, I won't be able to walk afterwards.
Well, if the head of the baby could fit in.
Yes, but however, men, what also happens is that men, because society puts, so much stock in a man's size, men with bigger penises tend to not work on their skills. So they think that I'm there, I'm big, boom, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And the woman is not pleasured. But men who are average or on the smaller side learn how to use their tools. I realize that penetration alone is not going to get her there. They can use that penis to tap around the vaginal openings without even going in. There's an ancient East African technique called kunyaza. Kunyaza means to bring forth water. You use the penis to tap. Remember the clitoral head and all around the vagina, the clitoris is under the skin. So now you are stimulating the clitoris with the penis, the head of the penis. And you're stimulating in a rhythmic motion that will bring her to orgasm and even help her squirt.
Oh, Jesus. This show is rated 18.
So why are we then focusing so much on penetration? Does it matter the size?
Kunyaza.
And there's so many more. But again, because we follow a script, one script, and we think that that's the only way, you are missing out on so much more. So let's not focus too much on size. Let's focus on what it does. Your whole body is the tool, not just your penis.
Thank you for putting that to bed.
Anytime.
Put it in. That 3 minutes, I call it presentation or rebuttal. That's as exhaustive as it gets. And it leads me to the next one that I'm sure someone is about to ask me to ask. What's the best sex style? I'm going to now ask the next question. What sex style, okay, I'll put it this way. What sex style is likelier to get a woman to reach the point of orgasm?
When she's on top. So not a particular sex style, but the woman on top allows the woman to control the depth of penetration, allows her to control the pace. So now she sets the motion, she sets the rhythm. And so she can go as fast, as slow, circles up and down, she's in control. And it allows for the angle allows for better stimulation of her clitoris. And it also allows the man free use of his hands, which he can then use to stimulate her body. So a woman is more likely to achieve orgasm when she's on top, whether facing him, whether backing him, straddling him, different ways. Or what is popularly called cowgirl. So that is that is a position, or those positions where a woman is on top are more stimulative for women.
Okay.
And men will also enjoy it because for men, penetration, whichever way belly face,
interesting,
penetration happens and they're happy. I am called Olori Coitus. And when I have workshops with women, I say, I am not the only Olori Coitus. I want you to be your Olori of Coitus. What is Olori? Queen. Coitus is the Latin word for sex. In your own relationship, you are Olori Coitus. You are the queen of sex. Because the thing is, when you are equipped, do you know that this concept of missionary, I really don't like the word.
I also...
You see why? Because that's how the missionaries were doing it. And then they made it sound like all other positions were depraved.
Yeah.
But before the missionaries came, if you do research, you see that other styles, doggy was even more popular.
Yeah.
There were so many other styles and positions, and depending on the country and the culture that you're looking at it from, different cultures had different styles. And honestly, any which way runs your boat, do it. But this idea that, and the reason missionary was so popular is because the concept of women should be passive. A woman should not be active. She should not be an active participant in this. Because if she's on top, then she's moving, she's active. But that idea that she should just lay there as the holy person, just receiving, like, I have no, I'm just there. They're just doing it.
Exactly.
It's what he does.
Just a bit of a pause, right? You're so fluent in benmatic conversations, and you're so fluent and so passionate about trying to have people improve their sexual health and so on and so forth. Did you stumble on this? We got so carried away with your expertise that we forgot to find out more about the process that got you here. In just about 2 to 3 to 4 minutes, someone could be wondering, who's this woman, right? Do you have a background in sexology, or did you go learn from the ancient Greco-Romans? I said that because, man, this is an aside. I was in Greece some months back, and it was more like a baptism of sexual exposure, for God's sakes. I step into a store, I'm seeing sex cards. You step into a store, you're seeing as many condoms that I'm like, at some point I had to start closing my eyes as I was stepping into stores.
Why used to close your eyes? You're a married man.
No, man, I was seeing some crazy things
They're sexually
on the...
open.
Man, it was that intense. And so I said Greco-Roman. But anyways, tell me.
So I went to the University of Florida. I initially went to be pre-med, to study medicine. And then I discovered public health and realized that, in Nigeria, when you are leaning towards the sciences, when you have a flair for it and you're, quote unquote, brilliant, you are steered towards it's like medicine. It's like it was just the natural path.
Ben Carson.
And I wanted to be an OBGYN. I think I had mentioned earlier about reading every woman. So I've always had an interest in women's health. And so I thought, okay, I would go and be an OBGYN. But along the line, I discovered that my interest was more in public health than clinical. So as opposed to working one-on-one in clinic, I wanted to kind of shape behavior, public knowledge and that's how I discovered public health. I did a lot of work on campus, working with the student health department. We would put on things, on weekends, we give out condoms, talk to people about their health. People would always come in. And by the time I finished my first degree, I went in and I started working with the Florida Department of Health in being a disease investigator for sexually transmitted infections. And so from that, you realize that in trying to prevent sexually transmitted infections, you realize that there's a lack of knowledge. And I worked with a really fantastic lady. Her name is Teresa Micardo. She was my boss, my mentor, and she ran the minority STI program in the state of Florida. And she really pushed for education in the communities. So that's where I got my start. And from that, when I went to do my master's in public health, I minored in also human sexuality. So it was health policy and administration. In my day job, I worked for over a decade.
So these things you are saying, you also studied.
Oh, yes. I worked for over a decade in state government, shaping policy from everything from malaria to HIV. And that's what I have done. In fact, a lot of my work now is on menstrual health and menstrual health equity. But reproductive and sexual health is a passion of mine. And so I don't just say it. I come from a lens of public health and helping you understand your behavior and the choices that you can make to affect your behavior positively. So a lot of what I teach I'm not just pulling it out of the sky. And I always try to use research, policy-backed, research-backed, science. Like, so I always say, this is what the research says, so that you can understand. It's not just, coming from just anywhere.
Y'all know I don't play. When I bring guests on board, I don't bring just anyhow people. Just giving you science-backed formula. This is proper sexology. I just want to say that I like for a fact that not only are you knowledgeable about what you talk about, but you are also articulate.
Thank you.
Very articulate. I think I have the privilege of having some of the most articulate Nigerians and even Africans sitting right on that chair. I like the fact that, it's one thing for you to know, it's another thing for you to be able to teach, right? And it's obvious you've been doing this for quite a number of years. And just in case there's anyone, right, who was here to come in contact with you before now, right, I'm sure they're all just going to be so captivated, right, about the world of knowledge that you've shared. And the Olori Coitus, the Coitus, it obviously will be in the description, so you don't all just go search, know who she is. Very fun fact, right? Right before you came on board, very weirdly, one of my very close friends and I were talking, and then he said the very first time he came in contact with your page, or something, it was late last year or something.
Okay.
He said, when he said Olori Coitus, he said he thought it was a French word. So I'm sure you might get this a lot, but there's actually a goalkeeper that keeps and tends the goal for Real Madrid. His name is Thibaut Courtois, right?
Oh,
now, Courtois is Belgian, but the Belgians speak a lot of French and German, and
His Latin based.
Yeah,
it's probably derived from Latin as well.
So I don't know if his name, but so I won't lie, right? First of all, Olori Coitus. Olori Coitus.
I've heard all sorts. Olori Clitoral. Listen, it's Olori Coitus.
Olori, so the real Coitus.
Olori is the Yoruba word for queen.
Yeah.
And Coitus is the Latin word for sex. So essentially, what I do is in the name.
Interesting.
It's
Queen of Sex Education.
It's self-explanatory.
Amazing. I think it's very good, and I really can't wait for it to be a household name on a global scale.
Thank you very much.
Well done. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I'm a fan. If I wasn't a fan, I wouldn't have even been looking forward to this conversation the way I really have. And just to tie up all we've been talking about, just a couple of things I need to get perhaps out of the way as fast as possible. What's the ideal number of times a couple should have sex in a week?
I get this question all the time. There's no ideal number. The ideal number is how many times that couple has decided works for them. For some couples, it is every day. For some couples, it's 3 times a week. For some couples, it's twice a day. For some couples, it's 5 times a week. For some couples, it's once in 2 weeks. When you put, and I know because many of us are go-getters, we work in corporate, we work in organizations, we lead organizations where we have KPIs. So we like to have KPIs, and we want to put that even for our sexual intimacy. It is not Emily Nagoski. She's a brilliant sex educator, and she wrote a book called Come As You Are. And she said, let pleasure be the measure. It is not about how many times you have sex, but how good, how much you enjoyed it every single time. So if, for example, you have sex 7 days a week, but you do not enjoy it on any of those days, versus somebody that had sex once in 2 weeks, and that one time took them to heaven and brought them back, which is more desirable? Because when you enjoy the sex that you're having, no matter how many times you have it, you will then look forward to it more. So even if for whatever reason you and your partner are not, one person travels, your schedules don't align in such a way that you're able to have it as often as you would like, the thought of how good that sex is and how good it will be when you get together will carry you on more so than someone that's having sex every day and just like, it's time to remove the clothes. Yeah, now. Let's go.
So frequency doesn't always mean satisfaction.
Thank you.
It's not about the
You're more eloquent
quantity
than I am. So please, thank you. Frequency doesn't always mean satisfaction.
But you're more learned on this one than I am. So thank you, my teacher. It's good to learn at your feet and then to be able to apply and just say one or two things. So frequency doesn't always mean satisfaction. I think that's very profound. And it leads me to the next thing that I would love to ask, which is, now that I know that frequency doesn't always mean satisfaction and there's no set time, quote unquote, on how many times a person should have sex, what are the health benefits of having sex frequently? Are there any?
Sex is a workout. So I think I mentioned before that it helps relieve tension. It's a stress reliever. So if you're having sex more, it should be helping you with your blood pressure.
Oh, wow.
Please do not quote me and say that now, because somebody's going to take this and say,
it's a cure for hypertension.
This is the cure for hypertension. Olori Coitus said that we should have sex every day. I now don't need to take my blood pressure medication because we're having... That's not what I said. It relieves stress. It eases tension. And so that can have positive effects on your blood pressure. It elevates your mood. It's a mood elevator. It's a stress reliever. It increases and enhances connection. And so what that does is you feel happier. You are releasing hormones, the feel-good hormones that helps you feel bonded. That's why people say, oh, when they fight, they have make-up sex so that they can connect more and bond more. You have the oxytocin, you have, and you just...
I think for women, that excitement is a whole lot more palpable. That's
you don't think it is for men?
So for men, right? So I mean, facially, right? That's what I mean, palpable. Like everyone else can see it. So what I mean that is, I said that because you can always see when perhaps like a newly wedded lady who married as a virgin, for example, started having sex. Sometimes, or a woman has early morning sex, right? Some women have a way of detecting. So I remember
there's an extra pep in the step.
Yes,
but I would say that men too, because now he's just like, my guy was.
No. So for man, I mean, what stoic? What do you mean?
That's what
a man's man.
This is why
a man's man. It can't show.
It
can't show, man. It can't show. Leave this service. Sounds really.
But a lot of people in very religious, or should I say, spiritual people like to think of their sexuality as separate from their spirituality. And thinking that they need to hide that sexuality from the spirituality. That sexuality should be covered, should be hidden. Because we've, in the Christian sense and even in the Muslim sense, Abrahamic religions say that you should not have sex outside of the confines of marriage. It should be something that is kept holy. And so, because of that, you now don't think that God you don't want to bring God into sex. But God is the one who programmed the sex for your enjoyment. So, why are we talking about this? We should talk about it because you have a legal right to. And that's the thing. You're not talking about it. You're not discussing it, even with the person that you're having the sex with. The only time sex comes up in the conversation is when you want to take your clothes off. And then you're wondering why you're not having it as frequently or you're not enjoying it as much. When you could be having, maybe, I understand not wanting to discuss it with others. You might want to keep it, okay.
But still, sometimes
this secret. But the thing is that when you now keep it, you don't talk about it. You don't bring it up in conversations. Then you think that this problem you're having, if you have an issue, you think that you're the only one experiencing it. If nobody talks about it, then you think that this thing is only happening to you, and then you're stuck. And if you knew that other people were also experiencing it. This is why, like, having safe spaces to have these conversations is important. And I understand not wanting to have it in perhaps in public spaces, but having safe spaces where you can let your guard down and have this conversation. Say, this was happening. It happened to you too. This happened to me too. As one says, oh, this is how I was able to combat it. This is how, this is a way in which you can actually, work through this. And then you realize that you're flying. And that big thing is actually a small thing.
This is so true, because innate in our humanity is the fact that in the midst of our misery, we appreciate company.
Yes.
That's so true. The reason I'm doing this is also because, the thing you mentioned about sometimes people over spiritualizing and, now the cat's out of the bag. And so even my audience from a global standpoint know that I'm actually a clergyman, along with every other thing that I do by the grace of God so well, right? In my position as pastor, I've also seen many people that the problem in this marriage is not spiritual. The problem in this marriage is not money. Hello, go and pound each other. Hello, Dorain. It's the weekend, it's the weekday, just go. Sometimes that's the only counseling you need.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. All the pent-up frustration is just because she has not released tension.
And because also you think that it's just when you want to take off your clothes that you start. When you guys were not married, when you were just getting to know each other, and I think that sometimes it seems like I'm always just talking to married couples, but when you're dating, there is anticipation.
Yes, there is.
But there's all the little, I can't wait to see you, I can't wait to, and now all of a sudden, because you now have a legal right to, you think that anticipation there's no room for that. There's even more room for that. The yearning has to come into play. And you have to continue. Like, I like to tell people that your spouse is not just your husband. I think sometimes even this title of husband, wife is so serious, such a cloak. They're your lover.
Yeah.
They're your lover. And when you think of your lover, what does that connote for you? Playfulness, running about like, you're chasing each other around and all that. Those are the things that you should still try to bring in. There's a way for see finish to happen, but please don't let see finish.
I've also noticed things like even non-sexual touch. It just helps.
That's why I said play. Play. Like,
always.
When we step out of our homes, we are the clergyman, the entrepreneur, the boss lady, but when you are with your partner, as adults, we don't play. We no longer go to the playground. We're not running around the compound and playing. But your bedroom, and not the physical four walls of your bedroom. When I say bedroom, I mean sexual intimacy, is the time for you to play. Go back to the being naughty, being playful, being childish, quote and unquote. And that's where you chase each other, and that's where you laugh, and you can chase each other around the bedroom, do, funny things, tap the person and run away. Those little things that, you're passing by your partner, you tap their ass and you pinch them. That. Yes. You know why? Because when you do that, there's no pressure of sex. Yeah. What a lot of women complain about sometimes is that every time my partner touches me a certain way, I know that penetration and sex is on the horizon. We need to have more touches, more physical touch that has no strings attached. Where we're just playing, the more of that you do, the more sex you'll actually end up having. But we need to understand that. And it also comes from having a culture whereby like physical touch is not as prized, So you don't touch until you're ready to have sex. But you should be touching all through the day. You should be coming in touch, rub each other. You're sitting on the couch, just sit and cuddle. You can both be on your phone.
It all builds up.
And you're building up. That there is a calming effect that physical touch has. Some people are married and they're starved of physical touch. The calming effect that physical touch has on human beings. That's why if somebody is in distress, somebody gives you a hug. It grounds you. So we need to do more of just touching, non-sexual touches. Before you leave the house in the morning, before you leave each other, give yourself, there's something called like a 6-second kiss. A kiss that is lasting 6 seconds or more. You are on your way out, you're on your way in. So this has nothing to do with sex. Some people don't kiss deeply for long if it's not for sex. Because when you see each other, you just do mwah, and or you give yourself the hug. You know that, morning babe, bye honey. Stand in each other's embrace for 6 seconds or more. And practice that for a week. And see if that does not increase something. The emotional intimacy in your marriage.
Interesting.
Or in your relationship.
Thank you for the practicality. As I begin to draw the curtain on this extremely insightful conversation.
I hope we have not talked for too long.
Honestly, it's not too long. For me, it isn't. And I don't think it will be for my audience. You know why? Because trapped in this 2-hour-plus long conversation are enough insights to actually unlock intimacy in several marriages. I honestly feel like this should be watched in twos. Because what I try to do is I try to play not the devil's advocate this time, but the people's advocate by bringing together some of the commonly held beliefs, however false, right, for some, and dropping it at your table. And I believe you've been able to be very honest, captivate, right, and in a way that is also very relatable. And so thank you so much for that. And
Thank you.
I think a couple of things that I want to just get out of the way. I want to talk a bit about aphrodisiacs, right? What's your view on them? And then when I'm talking about things relating to maybe even natural things to aid performance in bed, right? Not just arousal now. I'm talking performance aids, right? As a man, you get quite a number of recommendations, many unsolicited. You begin to hear things like use watermelon. It will make things happen. For some others, it's sprinkle it with some banana. Some will tell you mix this before you go. In a world where some people use okpaying, ale afato, konramon, all those things, bitters, those rubbish that end up keeping your let's say your liver or your whatever damages your livers in the end, right? Some people have tried to find natural solutions, right? What fruits can I take to aid performance? Or let me make it less personal, right? What fruits can a man take to aid his performance in bed? And what kind of fruits or natural supplements can a woman expose herself more to improve performance or improve excitement in bed?
I'm always very cautious about recommending things. My community will tell you that I focus a lot on the internal before we jump to the external. And the reason is that our people love a remedy.
Quick fixes.
We come to counseling, come for therapy. They want a one-time solution. Drink this. That's why people get scammed all the time. Drink this. Drink this and you will get this result. Eat this and you will get this result. The truth is that we are holistic. So it is not, there's no one thing that you will just take and that will fix all your issues. If you're having trouble with lubrication, drink more water. Eat more fruits that have water. Watermelon, pineapple. They can help in aiding water. Now, if you eat too much sugar, you might get a yeast infection. So with everything that you will notice that I always try to be nuanced about
balanced.
it. There are remedies of tiger nuts with dates. I'm sure you've heard of tiger nuts with dates. And they say, if you take it, and people have reported feeling more stimulation and feeling more aroused by drinking tiger nut milk. Some people have tried gorontula, which is a natural, and these are all natural fruits. But with all things, it might work for some. It might not work for others. But our people have a tendency of oh, take this and it will make you sweet. And then now, you now become so dependent on it that before you have sex, once you smell sex on the horizon, you start running to drink this. And now you use it as a crutch. So you now start to feel like, if I don't have this, I will not perform. Men are marketed all kinds of remedies. Some with or without, most of them without regulation.
Yeah.
There's no dosage. Some of these things actually work, honestly. But then you now have things like the man continues to stay erect, even after ejaculation. Now, he does not want to have an erection, but he cannot come down. What then happens? Like you said, sometimes some of them have effects on your liver, have effects on the kidneys. You're seeing men in their 30s, in their 40s, starting to need dialysis. And you find out that they're taking a lot of these drinks that are marketed to men are usually also made with alcohol. So we now start looking at what those effects are. The truth is, there is not one particular thing that you will drink that is going to change the trajectory. If your mind, sex starts in the mind first. Your mind, then your body. Drink more water. I would say, to increase performance, drink more water, work out. Start exercising. Start exercising more. Not necessarily to lose weight, to build endurance. When you're going to the gym, you're doing cardio, you're lifting weights, you're building muscle, you're stretching, you're doing yoga, Pilates, mobility exercises. What are you doing? You're learning how to open up your hips. For a lot of women, tightness in the hips doesn't help. Even for men, if you learn how to be more flexible, wouldn't you perform better? If you're practicing endurance in the gym, won't you learn how to, you're training your body and your mind, and that will reflect in the bedroom. It will reflect in sexual activity. Eat well, drink water, sleep.
So sleep helps.
Oh, of course, because sleep helps in all things. Aren't you clearer when you sleep?
I am.
Aren't you working better?
I am.
Aren't you less cranky?
I am.
So if you sleep, aren't you a better partner?
I am.
You're less likely to get upset, to personalize criticism.
Absolutely.
Doesn't that make for better sex?
It does.
So when we're looking for these, we're thinking big.
Yeah. Whereas it's in the...
What you are looking for in Shokoto is
the
in
little
your
things,
Shokoto.
the minuscule details.
The little things that we overlook.
And
Wellness.
It has a compounded effect.
Wellness. Let's aim for wellness.
And
In all spheres.
yeah, in a bit to get a little bit more jovial, right? I think my penultimate question would be, how many rounds are ideal?
You'll have noticed that every question that you ask when you try to pin me, I let you know that it's always the same answer.
Yeah, it's no one size fits all.
There is no one size fits all. If you take 100 people that like rice, that say, you do a survey, and you say, what's your favorite food?
Yeah.
And 100 people come and say, rice. When you take those 100 people and you start to ask them, what kind of rice do you like? And ask them to describe their best rice. You're not likely to get 2 people that like the exact same rice, the same way. Somebody can say, you can get 5 people that will say, okay, maybe 20 people that say, oh, I love smoky jollof. But somebody's going to say, I like my smoky jollof with plantain, soft plantain, and goat's meat. And then somebody comes and says, I like coconut rice. But my own coconut rice, I like it to stand, to be single grain. Somebody else comes and says, I like coconut rice that's more of a rice pudding type. And then we start going. I like pepper, more of mine. I like mine quite bland, but I like a sauce with this. Some people, they say they have trust issues. They need their jollof rice with stew.
Then different strokes for different
Different
folks.
strokes. If you take 100 people and you ask them,
What's the
what
average?
is their ideal length of time, round? What is round? And then the question is, what constitutes a round? Most times when people are talking rounds, it is a man's penetration to ejaculation. Are we measuring the rounds by a woman's, from when a woman starts enjoying stimulation to when she orgasms? Most times we're not. We're measuring it by men's performance.
Justice for women.
Not just justice for women, but justice for men, because then there is pressure on the men to perform.
True.
It's not a performance. It's not. It's a journey, an exploration, a savoring. Slow down. We're always boom, boom, boom. We're always boom, boom, boom. We need to. Sex is the place where we can slow down. There's no rush.
Thank you, Yeside. I think I've had a very educative last 150 minutes.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, it has. It's been about 2 hours and almost 30 minutes since we began this very insightful conversation.
I've really enjoyed our exchange.
Thank you so much. I'm the voice of the people.
Thank you.
But first, the voice for myself because
you're a very intelligent man.
I'm
very I think self-aware.
I'm honored. Thank you so much. Coming from you, it does mean a lot. And as we bring this to a close, I want to speak to someone watching right now who is perhaps currently in rather murky waters with respect to intimacy, right? You've been having a friction, yourself and your partner, zero alignment, the sex really isn't great, if you're to say the truth, right? And this might seem a little bit generic, but if you had 3 things to say to a couple currently struggling with sexual intimacy, what would they be? Parting words.
Clear out the emotional clutter. Figure out what's happening, the seasons of your body. Figure out where your body is at that time. So we're looking at the context, right? And start small. You don't have to jump back into full-on penetration. Small. Remember the times when sex was off the table, either because your relationship was new or you were not married. So you would catch any little form of physical intimacy any way you could. Holding hands was a big deal. A kiss that you knew did not lead to sex. Start small. But before we get all that, let's clear out the emotional clutter. What are the things that are on the bricks of our intimacy? Let's start to find ways to release that. Because when you want to move a car, even when you have not stepped on the accelerator, when you release your foot from the brake, the car starts to move, even without stepping on the gas. So as you're removing the things from the brakes in your intimacy, the car of your intimacy has started moving before you even put your foot on the brake. So before you start looking for all the things you can add to it, which are not bad, let's start from removing the things that are in the way.
Simple yet profound. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This has been so interesting, and it definitely won't be the last. Hopefully, in the coming months or years, we will, I think, delve a little bit more into perhaps more public healthy, right? I think your years of experience combating public health issues is one that I think I'd love to get into at some point in the future.
I'm always open to having those and let my nerdy side come out.
Yeah, because I just know that deep down there you've already displayed a bit of it, to be frank. And I think for me, what made this conversation very interesting was that it wasn't just the usual, have sex now, do this, do that. I mean, you brought several contexts to it, and I think it was brilliantly delivered.
Thank you so
and it's
much.
on that note that I want to say thank you so much for taking out your time. This does mean a lot. I know in a world where you're in very high demand, right, giving myself and my team 3 hours of your time. You've already added the commute time, perhaps another 2 hours added. I want to say thank you so much. It does mean a lot to us, and we're so honored to have you. And I'm sure that the audience really, really, really loved this conversation. And it's on that note that I'd like to say a huge thank you to you guys, the viewers, for being a part of this. And I want to say that if you know that you'd like to keep on seeing interesting and incredible conversations like this, all you have to do is actually click on the like button to ensure the algorithm shows it to more people. And do not forget to click the subscribe button or follow, right? And then turn on post notification so you will be the very first person to know when next we drop another mind re-engineering episode of the Echo Podcast. But till then, I'd like to say a very huge thank you to our brand partners. Yeah, our sponsors who made this possible. Bugetti. Yep. And then also to our media partners, Echo Bank Business. They're such incredible people partnering with businesses all around Africa to ensure that they reach more and more heights of profitability. Until the next one, toodles!